What's up, guys? In our last video we made a single player Pong game where you've got one rectangle, one circle, and the collision. The only thing really interesting is this fade in at the beginning or after you lose. It changes from white to black over the course of a second. And I thought that was nice, but you don't have to do that on yours. Today we're going to add a second rectangle on the side to make it a two-sided Pong game. You could do keyboard controls and have another player, or you could do mouse, but today we're going to do a computer opponent and have something so you can play against even if you're just by yourself. This will be a test of our code, because the real test of whether your code is good and organized and nice is, can you add stuff, can you change stuff without having to throw it all out and start over. What are we going to do to make another paddle? That's what we called it. Well, let's just copy that line and name it paddle 2. Okay, we could name this guy left and then the new guy right, or we could call them player and opponent if we're doing the human versus computer thing. But what if you just call it 2 and then we can change it later? If I hit run, nothing happens, and that's okay because I like to test for syntax errors. It would tell me if something was wrong, or I would see something weird happen if I had made a mistake. So that's what I'm going to do. Every time I add a line, I'm going to hit run. JavaScript is all about that. You don't get a ton of warning beforehand, but you get the instant output anytime you want. What are we going to do next? How about this? The set position. We're going to need to give it a place to live. So let me move my camera over here for now. There's not a great place to put it. And I'm going to go paddle 2.setPosition. What is our x? We're going to go all the way over, which is a constant that I called width, minus something, so it can be a little bit away. Right here we have this 10, which is like the gap, the breathing room between us and the wall. So we'll do that. But we need more, because just like how a circle has a point, but it has many other points that are involved, the rectangle has a point not in its center like the circle was, but in its top left corner. So when we were on the left, I can't do this line yet. This is the 10 where my cursor is, because it's the distance between the wall and the top left corner. But if I'm on the other wall, I have to go farther to go through the body of the rectangle. So let's say paddle 2.width, which I think is 20, but I don't have to know. I just say the name. And then what's the y coordinate? It doesn't really matter much because it's going to start moving, but let's just go the same as the other one. And let's hit run. Still nothing, but that's okay. I always like to hit run. What are we missing? We need to do the add. So you can see that it's a pretty good setup. We only need 3 lines to get this guy on the screen, but it's a little bit annoying that we had to zoom up and down to 3 different sections of the code. It would have been cool if we could add it in one, but this isn't bad. So what do we need to do? 2 more things. It's got to move, it's got to collide. Both of those probably will be in this update function that happens every frame. So let's see. Actually, this guy is going to go away. This was the collision with the right wall, and that's going to go away just like the left wall went away when we added our left paddle. So let's turn that off. And then this guy could potentially be copy-pasted, although that's dangerous because I might forget to change something. So let's see, paddle 2 and x plus, because we're going rightward. This guy was x minus to check the left side of the ball, and it doesn't look right when I'm doing it on it's the webcam reversed, and this is going to be negative. So let's run. I know it's not moving, but maybe it'll hit it. No. Okay, so let's make it move. Move computer opponents paddle. And what we're going to do to make it easy is to make it perfect. It will just match the ball all the time. This is kind of silly because it's doing a lot of extra work when the ball is far away, And it's also unbeatable, so it's not a great game, but it's a perfect start. So we're going to say paddle2.set position, and this is set position instead of move. We were using move for the other stuff because it's relative to where it is, but we want to make it relative to the dang ball. So we're going to say this X never moves, it doesn't go sideways. This thing, it's pretty ugly. We could give this a constant at the top and then just name it throughout, but we might not ever have to name it again. Sorry if you have to hear my mouse wheel on the video. And then what's the Y? It's going to be ball.y. Boom. Let's give it a shot. Okay. Yes, but also it looks weird. Do you see what's going on? It looks weird, and it can sometimes miss if the ball's going at a certain angle, because it is hitting the corner of the paddle instead of the body. So we have to say this guy needs to adjust. We're gonna go minus. Do I want to do it like this? I squished them together with no space because it kind of feels like one quantity, you know. Whatever you want. JavaScript doesn't mind. I go minus paddle 2 dot height over 2 because it's half the way toward the middle. I guess all the way toward the middle. Beautiful. And now the funny thing is, it's basically what it was a minute ago, because a minute ago we were playing against a wall, and now we're playing against a perfectly moving thing, which will always be there, almost like a wall. Ooh, did you see that? The collision there was doing what we wanted, but it just looked bad because the edge of the ball missed the paddle, even though a lot of the body of the ball overlapped. We'll talk about that in a second. So this is basically like playing against a wall because it's always there, except the round trip is a 60 pixels shorter, so it's a tiny bit harder when you're playing against this moving guy. So what was going on with that? Well, we only ever check a single point, which is like the right middle when it's going rightward and the left middle when it's going that way. But what if the, bottom left catches the top right corner of my paddle? Well, we could, if the paddle was really fat, we could make a whole new thing about bouncing off the top or the bottom. But if the paddle was really thin, then it becomes closer to a line, which is easier geometrically, which is basically what we're treating it as now. And if the ball becomes smaller, it becomes closer to a point. So instead of a two-dimensional thing, we can almost treat it as like a zero-dimensional ball in a one-dimensional line. So we could make them thinner, and I think that probably will happen naturally if we go toward this breakout game where we have a lot of small rectangles. It might work just fine. So let's do this thing I mentioned a minute ago with the speed stuff, and then we'll end this and do a next part later. So let's say I'm going to say let speed equal 3, because I never change it during the game, but we could have like a sudden death where it gets faster as it goes into a long game or something. And then now every time there's a 3, we're going to replace it with speed. But wait a minute, not that one. What if a 3 semicolon, and then just undo that one? So let's see how that goes. Yes, yes, beautiful. I like that. Let's see if it works. I could have done something silly. Yep, cool. I'm going to end this video now. My phone rang a minute ago, and see you next time.